But ganja is now everywhere, you know.
Not just in Jamaica, everywhere. I was in Toronto and I couldn't walk downtown Toronto without smelling weed.
Okay.
Downtown Toronto. I
Yeah.
couldn't walk anywhere without smelling weed.
And more than likely, it's not Jamaica it come from.
No, highly unlikely. I mean, we never ever actualize. We have the brands, we create the energy, but we don't make the money out of it. I mean, and we continue to fail ourselves in that regard.
Mr. Pandohie, I heard that you're a dancehall fan. You still like dancehall music?
Yes, I mean, much to my mother distress, grew up as a proper 7-day Adventist and here I am champion in all the dancehall things, but it's like that.
You can dance it?
I think I'm quite skillful. The general public, when I see my dance, don't think so, but I mean, it's in my space.
Okay.
I'm doing well.
Okay.
No, but every morning music is what I start with.
And you still like Lady Saw?
Lady Saw is my favorite, always. I'm a playlist out of, funny enough, Vibes Cartel. I like reggaeton, the mix of the dancehall and Latin music. And yeah, I mean, it's, for me, the music is part of our fabric. It sets our tone, it sets our day, but it's also something I was so proud of. When you hear, no matter where in the world I go, you hear Sean Paul.
Yes.
Especially Sean Paul nowadays. You hear our music is everywhere. I mean, I love Barry Sampleton. I mean, it's, you don't have to say you're sorry, it's my favorite Barry song. Yeah. And, but I love music in general, but dancehall music is definitely something. I actually like it more than reggae. Interesting.
Dancehall, yes. Yeah. Interesting. Because, dancehall music is being blamed for a number of things these days.
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, so I've 4 boys and, young men, 18 to 23, and they consume themselves with dancehall music. And the music they listen to nowadays, I can't relate to it. The current chopper music and them things.
Okay.
I mean, when they're listening to it, I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. I don't understand. It doesn't sound good to me.
Yeah.
So I'm not, so I'm aware of the current evolution. I think is that for this period of time, but not something I relate to, not something I enjoy. And I mean, I just don't think it's. The thing with dancehall though, the music is not what creates the issue. The music is telling the story of what they're seeing. I think people keep mixing it up. I mean, the guys and the girls out there telling dancehall is a story. They're relating what is happening in the community, and therefore I think going after them is not the right thing to do, because it's a society that they see around them. It's the things that they see around them, the inequity they see around them that they're talking about.
Yes.
Now, of course, there's a whole sexuality or whatever, it's a different thing, but let's talk about Molly and the drugs thing. I heard about it, I mean, you couldn't hear a current dancehall song when I talk about it, and it is a real reality in society. So I think we should be listening to the music, if nothing else, to find out, to get her, to understand the pulse of what's happening in the society that a lot of us are not interfacing with. But our kids are.
Yes.
The young people are.
Yes.
And, we can speak about it as much as we want in a negative way, but if it wasn't in society, that's how I'm talking about it.
That's true. That's true. And that's part of my disappointment with it, because I'm like, all of the reggae music, we're great storytellers. That's what the music has done. Very much like country and western music tell stories, but we didn't ban them in the days of Johnny Clark and Bob Marley and Peter Tosh. Well, we only did ban Light Up the Chalice in a Buckingham Palace. But ganja is now everywhere,
Not just in Jamaica, everywhere. I was in Toronto and I couldn't walk downtown Toronto without smelling weed.
Okay.
Downtown Toronto.
Yeah.
I couldn't walk anywhere without smelling weed.
And more than likely, it's not Jamaica it come from.
No, highly unlikely. I mean, we never ever actualize. We have the brands, we create the energy, but we don't make the money out of it. I mean, and we continue to fail ourselves in that regard. I mean, Jamaica's brand is just being, the people who benefit from Jamaican brands are not Jamaicans.
I know.
Generally.
Yeah, I am.
We have not proven to be good stewards of ourselves, and of our brands. But,
So, as we're talking about heavy rains on Marcus Garvey Drive, are you still worried every time it rains?
Well, I think, so I'm an engineer. I'm not a good engineer. I have an engineering degree. And for me, life is, I try to make it as simple as possible. 'Cause I think in simplicity, you see a lot of things. I remember when I was in the head of JMA and they were doing the reconstruction work along here and along some roads off Spanish Town Road. I mean, the members of the JMA came and said, if you look at the size of the gutter that they're putting in, it made no sense. The offtake of volume, the volume of water that to be taken didn't make sense. In fact, Grace County ran the risk of their entire facility being flooded in one of their factories, and we had to intervene to get the gutters wide. When I was looking at this construction, I had a lot of concern. I don't know how the engineering design was done, but I really believe it was inadequate. And I look around some of the construction in St. Thomas, for example, and the infrastructure to take off volumes of water. Remember, you have to scale for extreme weather. You know, the rain will come nicely, and what you have to scale
All
for
the time,
extreme
right.
weather. Just like you build in a restaurant, you build for the capacity that you hope to be at peak, not your average capacity. And I think the designs of, I mean, you know, I'm sure the NWC, etc., have great people, but I'm questioning some of the design work. So yes, every time it rains, I mean, we start worrying, and we look at the weather, and if we have to move staff out or we have to get out, and we do it. And we'll continue. And I think the relevant state agencies have said that unless they fix the whole drainage system and the ports, etc., it's a reality. But flooding, if you notice, in recent times, the issues of flooding in Jamaica across the country is actually getting worse. So we have a lot more infrastructure going up in terms of construction, homes, more buildings, but we're not addressing the support structure around it. So almost every time it rains now, I mean, look what happened in Clarendon, Rupert Road, on the north coast. It's a dry weather country. The place is hard to live in.
It is.
It's hard to drive on the road, it's hard to lock up in your house, everything, it just feel hard. And I think that kind of mental pressure that people are under is also a manifestation of why we probably have so much domestic violence. I mean, it's just a constant pressure pot.
Yes, and the COVID just exacerbated all of that with the lockdown. Yes,
and then, you know, it's just hard. It's hard for people to come to work. I mean, you know, and then you at the end of the month or at the end of the 2 weeks, you look at your pay and it's barely enough to get it to work the next 2 weeks. And I said, that's a treadmill.
yes.
And I think these are things that we have to look at, and you know, I don't know where to start. And I think that sometimes when you run a company like what I do, you have so many things to look at that you literally say, okay, let's pick a few things that we need to work on now.
Yes.
Let's execute those. The rest of things are need to be dealt in, but let's pick the ones, because it's all about execution.
Yes. But you have at least you have a plan. You
have a plan, and
yes.
then you know everything can't fix one time. But these are things that are important to the organization, and there you go. I think that it's maybe that's the approach you need to take to the country, where, because, you know, every ministry is trying to do something, everybody trying to do something. But let's pick a few things, and COVID showed us that we have the capability to do it.
Yes.
COVID came, and the things that happened, and what the rules are, and overnight legislations could be done.
Yep.
That take years could be done overnight.
Yeah. Yeah.
COVID has shown me that when we're ready for something, it can be done.
Yes. Yes.
I
And
really
we find the
believe that.
resources to do it.
And we'll find the resources to do it.
Yes.
So you can't, after COVID, you can't tell me that if we have the will to do something, we can't do it.
The manifestations of some of the bad actions that we are seeing today, is it you think because we have just ignored value systems and children are just growing up, they just have them and then just grow up so?
I think society, there's no such thing as society is built by all the individual elements of it, right? All of us. And certainly, you know, what I remember from my thing is that, I mean, life wasn't perfect at all. I mean, it's I was actually born in Copper and Pen. I grew up in Portmore, but you grew up all your life knowing that you're your parents' pension. So everything that they did was invested in their children, right?
Yes. Yes.
And no matter what, your parents were there. And life wasn't always smooth, right? I mean, every family have them problems. But you knew the value that you created was one that you had to do well, you had to strive hard, because you're responsible not only to yourself, but to your parents. Every time I speak to especially the men in our company, because most of them have children, but not married, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or not with their partners, or they have multiple children.
Right.
And I'm like, listen, especially at a certain level, work can't change your life. You're not going to ever earn enough to change your life. What you need to do is invest in your children, and the children are going to be your way out.
Yes.
And I say, I mean, I tell them my story.
Yeah.
You know, they giggle and they laugh at it, but they're going to realize one day that, you know, at a certain point you have to make the investment. That's your best resource. I mean, it's own kind of brutal, but that's the reality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is what's happening now, is that the kids are growing up. They don't have father figures. They barely have a mother figure, because the mother is doing all the bread earning.
Mm-hmm.
She at work, sometimes they're on shift. They have to stay with the grandmother. The mother. It's just, the society setup is just such that we're growing a cohort of, well, not now, for decades,
Yes.
cohort of children that are not, they don't have guidance. That's why the criminality, look at, they're getting younger and younger now. I mean, they're looking, when they join gangs and those things, is that they're looking at family structure, they're looking at a support system.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the gangsters see them as just a resource,
Yes.
to expend the resource, and that's how they're using them. But we speak in very high terms in Jamaica. You know, I remember when Prime Minister P.J. Patterson talked about the value and attitude or thing like that.
That was heavily criticized.
Right, but we need to stop speaking as doing. We need to be doing stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and that is my thing. We keep Jamaica. We continue to have a lot of conversation, a lot of dialogue, a lot of meetings, but we just need to do stuff. Do I believe that we can pull this back? No, I think we've gone in a really bad way, enough down the road. I mean, many years ago, 6-7 years ago, I actually gave a speech. I was kind of misquoting. I spoke about Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that in Venezuela, the inequity in the society is what created the Chavezes.
Mhm.
Chavez was democratically elected every time.
Right.
And I said, if Jamaica is not careful to continue to go down this path, where we're going down, we're going to end up a day when the people are going to elect somebody that they believe, they're going to be tired of the system.
Yes.
Look at what's happening in Latin America.
Mhm.
Leftist guerrilla, former leftist guerrilla leader, Colombia. We're looking everywhere. There's a move afoot where the general world population is just tired of the inequity. They're tired of most of the people not having a voice,
Mm-hmm.
not having a future, but then the rest of the world living in a way that is, I mean, how much money you can make?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, how much, social media has just highlighted a lot of things.
Mhm.
Whether they're real or not, people see them.
Mm-hmm.
I think those type of aspiration for social mobility and comfort, etc., is going to create a situation that if we're not careful, I don't think we're near there in Jamaica, but you see a part that if we don't move now, somebody's going to get up one day that I end up in leadership in this country, because that person will be the voice of the underclass. And I'm telling you, it's a real possibility. I can almost feel it.
The breakdown in the family structure push these children to this family of bad man and don man. These bad men and don man and all kinds, they have women with children, and they are also raising those children by the gangster standards, and also the young ones who they have recruited. So these are the standards now by which they are going to grow up and recruit women to be carriers of their children. These actions are going to impact us for decades. Does the state have the apparatus to cleanse itself?
But Eric, I want to point out something to you. The crime situation in Jamaica is not just a few gangsters and done. It's an organized business.
Yes.
Crime is a big business.
Yes.
Big business.
Yeah.
I think crime has evolved way beyond how we have seen it before.
Yes.
And it's not just a few done men having children with women anymore.
Yes.
It's a business.
Yeah.
Multi-billion-dollar business. The estimated amount of money that came in from scamming in Jamaica. When I saw a figure, I was like, I didn't want to quote it. Was phenomenal, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
and so they're looking at people resource just like how a normal business would.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at when you look in Latin America and those those places, the gangs, they have their own lawyers, they have their own medical doctors that look after them.
Yeah.
They're not carrying tattoo on those things. They look like everybody else. They have their alliances with the right political people.
Yeah.
They corrupt the state agencies. I think Jamaica is not recognizing that it is big business. And also it's providing social mobility in Jamaica. Many of us know, it's the things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everybody know.
Yeah.
So it creates, you get the success, you get the social mobility, and it therefore becomes, you look at that and like, I can do that too. So it becomes aspirational for a youngster coming up that, if he follows a similar path, he can get to where he needs to get much more quicker. So I mean, it's competing for resources in every which way. And because the organized crime is so large, it's also become a big influencer in other aspects. So the society is kind of merging. It's almost becoming a gray era where the influence is so large. You're not too sure anymore. I mean, people in Jamaica are afraid to speak up, right? You're afraid.
Definitely.
If somebody coming, you don't even want to say anything. You say something in your community because you don't know who you're.
Yes.
You don't know who you're offending.
Yes.
You don't know what they're going to do to you.
Yes.
There's a society of fear that we live in, and I mean, it's such a pity.
We have been down this road a long time, and hence you have the Chief Justice wanting more judge-only trials, and where you have jury trials, everybody seeking to opt out of it. So this society of fear, it's also heavily impacting how justice is dispensed.
If you look at, there's a Capri study that was done probably 15 years ago. I remember reading it once, and it's and I'm going to quote it because there's an Gleaner study done in August. In the Gleaner study, I think in August, more than 90% of respondents to an interview said they had no confidence in the police force. More than 90%. If you track back before, it was like more than 60% in like 15 years ago. The nature of our crime and the violent nature of our crime creates a lack of confidence in the state organs. So nobody believes in the police anymore. They don't believe in the court system because the man in Texas, very few people get tried and put away because of what they do.
Yes.
So, yes, you're going to get the quotation from the police, etc. I guess rightfully so that all other major crimes are known. But the fact is that violent crime is what creates the biggest fear and the biggest impact. Yes. So it's the impact of the crime and not necessarily the number of crime. Mm-hmm. And it's not creating a vicious cycle because you have no confidence in the police force. And I'm sure the men and women who are between us and total anarchy, right?
Yes.
But 90% of people say they have no confidence. Mm-hmm. So we're in a vicious cycle, and we're going to have to, it can't be business as usual. We have to use the technology to accelerate things. We need the trials to be faster. And I think, this is our country. And this is the way we are unique in many ways. And the way we go about our solutions can't be the same as more developed and advanced country. I believe capital punishment should be brought back in. I mean, you don't have to hang people. There are more humane way to do it. Mm-hmm. But I think there has to be consequences, clear consequences to brutal actions. And I think there has to a deterrent has to be sent that if you go down this course, these are the consequences you're going to face. Mm-hmm. Because all the bad men them kill off people, When them get caught, they beg for them life.
I know. Yes.
I beg for them mother, ball for them mother, whatever. Them only bad when they have a gun in front of defenseless people.
Yes.
Need to send a message that, alright, you want to be a bad man or a bad woman, when they get catch, and you will be caught, and you will be tried, and these are the consequences. Mm-hmm. It's our country. I mean, the people who are telling us what we can't or can't do are not helping us to stop the flow of weapons in our country. They're not helping us they're not, I mean, it's, at the end of the day, all we can get is another, what do you call it? Security advisory.
Yes.
It has to be multifaceted. We have to have social intervention. We have to get kids back into the classroom. We have to get skill training. But at the same time, we have to draw a line and say, we have gone too far.